welcome to Hardtalk India. In recent weeks, both in India and abroad, attention has started to focus on how India is handling its aid crisis. With the world's second largest population of HIV-infected people, is the country responding with the urgency required, or has a certain casualness, perhaps even complacency, started to set in? That's the critical question that I shall put today to the Director General of India's National AIDS Control Organization, Shahabuddin Yaqoob Quaraishi. Mr. Quaraishi, let's start with the numbers. Richard Feacham of the Global Fund for AIDS estimates that there could be up to 8.5 million Indians with HIV. The Bombay-based People's Health Organization says the figure could be 10 million. The NAS Foundation says it could be up to 12 million. Yet your organization, NACO, says it's just 5.3 million. Are you pulling the wool over our eyes?
No, not at all. Actually, when Richard Feacham came out with this statement, we asked him the basis of his figures, and he said it is his personal guess. And he said we have overtaken South Africa. And when we asked him the basis, and when we said, look, our figures have a different story, and they are based on international guidelines, which are prepared by WHO, UNAIDS, and top experts of the country and abroad are involved in the process. It's a very, very scientific process.
Can I interrupt and tell you why people doubt your figures?
Yes.
Your figures are based on some 670 sentinel sites,
yes,
of which 480 are eventually counted. But they exclude all those who go to private health centers, who go to private blood banks, who go to NGO laboratories, and that's believed to be 80% of the Indian population.
Yes.
So how representative are your samples?
No, our samples are very representative. According to WHO guidelines, for every 5 million population, there should be one site. We have one site for every 2.2 million population.
But you exclude everyone who goes to private health care,
no,
which is almost 80% of the population.
No, we don't. Because 81 of our surveillance sites are run by the NGOs. Those are the clinics run by the NGOs.
81 out of 670 is a negligible figure, just around 12%.
No, even if that is a negligible figure, if it was coming out with a different set of statistics, probably there will be a question of concern.
Let me give you another reason why people are concerned. India has 6 states with a total population of 292 million, which is almost 30% of the total population of the country. In these 6 states, the HIV infection rate has crossed 1% of the general population.
Right,
Within them, there are 31 districts where it's crossed 2%, 14 districts where it's crossed 3%, and there are some districts like Bellary and Koppal where it's said to be touching 7 or 8%. Yet you say the total is just 5.13 million. They just don't add up.
Sure, just a minute. I would like to clarify that it is not what we say. It's the body of independent experts. This entire exercise is done by an independent organization, ICMR. It is conducted by National Institute of Health and Family Welfare, and also the Institute for Research in Medical Statistics. It has a committee of about 24 people who supervise this, and which has national and international experts.
Right.
We are only recipients of this information.
But that's where the problem sets in. The experts analyzing the information are no doubt reputable. It's the information itself that lacks credibility, and I'll tell you why. You depend upon the states to report their figures. This April, Uttar Pradesh reported 1383 HIV cases. Bihar reported a mere 155. No NGO, no one in the business believes those figures, yet you are treating them as authentic.
Yeah, no, actually, I have gone through this. When I joined this organization 7-8 months ago, I also started with this skepticism. I grilled these people to know exactly what the processes are. And I talked to the experts also. I attended a few meetings of the experts.
But what do they tell you?
No, they said this is the most scientific basis. All others is guesswork. But let me
so scientific that the People's Health Organization laughs at it, that NAS Foundation disputes it, that Richard Feacham, who is perhaps a major supplier of money for you from the Global Fund, refutes it.
No. Richard Feacham, we wrote to Richard Feacham what was the basis of his information. The only data which is collected is by the government of India or every national government, and that is published by in a UNAIDS document worldwide. The only authentic data is that, all the rest is interpretation and guesswork.
You see, Mr. Quaraishi, it's not just the overall figure that you give for the number of people infected that's disputed. Even more surprisingly, a few weeks ago, your ministry announced that the figure this year had risen by just 28,000.
Yes.
Let me point out to you, the year before it rose by 526,000. the year before that by 610,000. In this context, an increase of 28,000 is in fact a fall of 95% in the rate of growth. It's unbelievable.
No, if the system is scientific and reliable, and this comes up with a specific figure, we have no reason but to believe it.
Yes, the methodology for analyzing it could be scientific.
Yes.
The actual reporting from the states may not be even accurate.
No, it's not a question of states reporting if the methodology includes a system of reporting. And there are checks and cross-checks. And
Let me quote to you what the Minister of Science and Technology, Kapil Sibal, a member of your government, says about your figures. He says, our figure may not be exactly accurate. And he's being polite. Nafisa Ali, a leading AIDS activist, says they must be joking. K. Narayan, another activist, says if these figures are true, this is the biggest miracle of this century.
yes, let me explain. I think the whole confusion is around one basic misunderstanding. We release what is called estimates. They are going on the basis of reported AIDS cases, and there is a world of difference. They are right. They are right in the sense that AIDS cases which are reported, there is gross underreporting to the extent of about 80%. According to our estimates.
So you accept that the AIDS cases, just to take them to begin with,
Yes.
are grossly underreported
Absolutely.
to an extent of 80%.
Absolutely.
Then why must that be different when it comes to HIV infection?
No, because HIV infection is done very anonymously. Every year for 3 months, when, for instance, women who are pregnant who go for antenatal
Do you believe,
checkup-
and I'm interrupting you, that Bihar has just got 155 cases of HIV infection?
No, is it HIV infection or is it AIDS cases?
HIV infection reported by Bihar.
No.
UP reports 1383.
No. I don't have a state-wise figure just now to give you.
Take my word for it.
Yeah, no.
That's the basis upon which you arrived at a
Yes.
figure of 28,000 as an increase for this year.
We have surveillance sites in every state, and more, of course, in high prevalence states, because 70 to 80% problem is concentrated in those 6 states. That's why our focus is there.
And because you have districts there,
You-
31 with over
you-
2%
no, no.
infection and 14 with over 3, the people don't believe your figure.
No, Karan, I would like to point out to you that this argument about figures is actually very counterproductive. In fact, the more I defend this figure, the more complacent I may become. This is one argument I would rather like to lose, because that is the point.
Let me point out to you that in the eyes of many people working in the field, you've lost it.
No. Let me tell, because we probably have to explain the difference between estimation and reported HIV/AIDS cases.
And you're saying that the difference lies in that?
Yes, I'll tell you that. It is like an iceberg. The iceberg has been measured, but you only see the tip. And if more becomes visible, it doesn't mean the problem has
It's a very
increased.
bad example you're using, because 7/8 of an iceberg lie below the water, and what the NGOs are suggesting
yes.
is that the reality
Yes.
is hidden from you, which is why your estimate is wrong.
No, that's exactly the point I'm trying to make. It may be hidden from the public eye, but not from our eyes.
You can see what others can't.
No, I'll tell you what I mean is the estimation is anonymous, you can't hide it. Whereas reporting, you can hide. People don't come forward
Okay.
because of the stigma.
Let's
Yeah.
accept your point about the figures. Let's leave that as a dispute for other people to handle.
Yes.
Whatever the figure may be,
Yes.
the truth is you have today the world's second biggest population of HIV infection, which is
Absolutely.
daunting.
Yes.
Yet the UN AIDS reports that for the year ending the 31st of March 2005, the total sum of money available to India for spending on AIDS was just $146 million. Botswana, which is 500 times smaller, spent as much. How do you explain that?
Yes, I think we need to invest a lot more, and the kind of scaling up we are
So you
now
accept
looking-
it. India is underspending.
Absolutely. In fact, that is what we have taken up with Government of India, and Government of India has acknowledged this. Prime Minister
You
has-
have personally gone to the government of India to say
Yes.
that India is underspending.
Yes, of course.
And
Yes.
the government has acknowledged this.
Yes, government has acknowledged this, and which is why this year, the year which got ended just now, in the middle of February, our budget was almost doubled.
But just before we get to when the budget was doubled, let's for a moment just pause on the level and extent of underspending. India, according to you, has 5.13 million HIV-infected
That's
people.
right.
South Africa has 5.3 million.
That's right.
South Africa spends $1.45 per adult.
Yes,
India spends just 29 cents.
it is true. In fact,
It's shameful, isn't it?
yes, till last year, India was spending only 11 cents.
So it's
and it has gone up
improved.
to 29 now.
But would you accept
Yes.
that even today at
Yes.
29,
Yes.
considerably better than the earlier 11,
Yes.
but it's still shameful?
I would not like to use that harsh word, but of course it is inadequate, and we are now
Grossly inadequate?
grossly inadequate, and we have worked out our strategies. We want
Before we come to your strategy, let me point something else out.
Yes.
Of the total of $146 million that was available for spending by the Indian government last year, it transpires that the amount of money that came from the Indian government itself is just a fraction. NGOs estimate
Yes.
that you put in 7 million of your own money, and if you add to that money received from the World Bank, which you consider your own, the total comes to 40 million, which is 27%. Botswana, in comparison, spent $100 million of its own money, which is 74%. Look at the disparity, 27%, 74%.
Right. No, actually, the comparison with Botswana is not really correct, because Botswana is spending a lot on treatment, and treatment is 10 times more expensive.
But you'll be at that position if you don't spend a lot today.
That is exactly the argument we are now giving to the government, that we need to scale up. And we, in fact, we have projected that scaling up not to the extent of 10-20%. I'm looking at the scaling up of 50-fold and 100-fold.
Now, hang on a moment. You're talking about the scaling up of the government of India's own contribution,
No,
100-fold.
let me also clarify. There is a misconception there also. When you say government of India's spending is less, you know, people believe that World Bank...
I added that figure in.
No,
I said 7 plus 32 making 40.
Yes, and that is all government of India.
So when you say
Yes.
you want a scaling up of 100%,
Yes.
you're saying 100% more than 40 million.
No, I'm talking of 50 to 100-fold, 50 times increase in allocation. That is what we are working on.
You're talking about an increase from the present
Yes.
40 million
Yes.
to perhaps as much as $400 million.
That is what we are trying to do, and yes.
I'm just repeating the figure, it's so important.
Yes.
You want an increase up to 400 million of government of India's own money.
No, instead of converting into money, I would rather say in terms of program, I want to increase my programs like targeted intervention saturation, which and mother-to-child transmission, voluntary counseling and testing.
Okay. You want it across the board.
100-fold.
You want it across the board, 50-fold and 100-fold.
50-fold increase in key interventions across the country, because we want to use the window of opportunity.
People
Yes.
will applaud what you're saying. The
Yes.
NGOs in particular will be delighted. But
Yes.
let me point out an anomaly. Of the money available to you today, which may well be inadequate as you admit, vast amounts are not being spent.
Yes.
Last year, 48% of the money given by the World Bank for what's called NACP2 was returned unspent.
Yes, Karan, can I come back to it later, but let me first finish the earlier part. You mentioned 29 cents being spent in India, and Thailand, which is again a great success story worldwide,
Spends double your amount.
only double.
Uganda spends $1.85 and Cambodia $5.70.
Fine.
You're at the bottom of the list.
Yeah, that's the comparison I want to mention. Now, Uganda spends 188 cents. Why then at the same time Uganda and Thailand are mentioned in the same breath? Uganda is spending a lot more because, unlike Thailand, they woke up late.
But
They're
let's come
spending on
back to the
treatment.
essential point.
Yes, now,
You're trying to save the government situation by comparing with other countries. I'm disputing that,
Yes.
but that's an irrelevant discussion.
Yes.
Let's stick to the central
All
point.
right.
You are committing yourself to seeking a 50 to 100-fold
increase in programming.
increase in programming,
Whatever which will cause
and
that,
that
we're
will
working
be
out.
a
Yes.
fairly commensurate increase
Yes.
in money.
Yes, sure.
You accept that?
Absolutely. We're
All
looking
right,
at that.
then let's come back to the other question.
Yes, utilize.
You want more money,
Yes.
yet last year, of the money available to you, 48% of World Bank funds intended for what's called NACP2 were returned unspent.
No, nothing was returned, and actually that also there was an error in calculation.
Error in whose calculation? Yours?
No, error in calculation of the audit, because we explained
So
it
the
to
auditors are to blame.
No, there is nobody to blame. It's just a question of
But
interpretation.
someone has to be blamed for the error.
Let me first explain, then you put the blame. Let's first explain. You know, for 5 years, if I'm given 100 rupees, and if you start evaluating it in the second or third year, obviously I've covered only
Quite right,
40%.
but you've just admitted
Yes.
the point I'm making. You were given 100 rupees to spend over 5 years.
Yes.
It was expected that you will spend 20 a year. You didn't spend any in the first or the second.
Yes.
You've top-loaded it in the third,
Yes.
because otherwise the
Yes.
World Bank would have withdrawn the allocation.
No. You know, because when we start a new program, we have to set up infrastructure. We have to do a lot of preparatory work, because otherwise the same World Bank will catch us in audit that you have
All right.
misspent the money.
Let's accept you weren't ready to spend the money when it was given to you. Let's leave this dispute aside as well.
Let me tell you, 2 months ago, World Bank mission came and they found our performance satisfactory. So everything else is not
Well,
behind
let's
us.
hope that's the
Yes.
case. But let's leave
And
this
let
dispute aside.
me also assure you that we will spend to the last dollar, because by the completion of this program, which is March of 2006.
Let's see how you're spending that last dollar. 2 years ago, the Minister of Health promised that India would make free antiretroviral treatment available to 100,000 people per year. If that promise had been fulfilled,
Yes.
you should have been targeting 200,000 people by this December. The truth is, you barely covered 8,000.
Yes. No.
You accept it?
No, I accepted only partly in the sense that that target of 1,000 was not for 1 year. It was till 2007, and you started evaluating in the first
NGOs
6
who were
months.
present at the very moment that the promise was made by Sushma Swaraj, the minister concerned, report that it was a promise per year.
No. It is the promise per year, but the figure
It is a promise per year.
No, but the figure of 100,000 will be reached only by 2007. Our target.
All right, even if it's to be reached by 2007, why have you not at least achieved 15% now?
I'll tell you why. Because the target for the first year was only 25 centers, which we set up. And we were expecting that 1,000 patients will come per center. But the number is only about 8,000.
So you're saying you're on target?
Just a moment.
You're saying you're on target?
We are on target. And in fact, the target for the current year was another 25 centers.
Why do NGOs disbelieve you?
No. NGOs, I don't know. That's a question.
Every one of them? Without exception?
Not every one of them. Because you see, there are 900 NGOs which are working for us. And our success story is all because of them, because they are doing a good job. Therefore, maybe the ones who criticize are more vocal and more loud.
Let me point out another area where it said that you're not tackling the AIDS crisis effectively. You've identified commercial sex workers, men who have sex with men, intravenous drug users and truckers as high-risk groups.
Yes.
Yet the NGOs say your interventions are ineffective.
No, they are not. In fact, if they were ineffective, you should not forget one fact, that when the AIDS started worldwide, in 86 we had one case, and we have now 5.1 million cases. That was the case in Botswana, which you mentioned. That was the case in South Africa. The fact that there it has reached to 40%. Let me complete. They have reached 40%, South Africa 21%, and we are less than 1%. Surely we have been doing something.
You're only less than 1% if one accepts your calculations. Those who dispute your calculations and your figures say you could be considerably above 1%.
No, if they...
In Belari and Koppal,
yes.
In Bijapur, Sangli, East Godavari and Namakkal, you are well over 1 to even 3%.
Karan, I would suggest to you that, this numbers game is actually counterproductive, because if I am able to convince that my figures are perfect and there is no problem, it is counterproductive. The message I want to send across is that there is a serious problem. And we are concerned and we want...
It's your level of seriousness that I'm probing. Let me put something to you that many NGOs point out. They say despite the high risk of HIV infection, they don't believe that you've been able to target more than 13% of female sex workers in Karnataka, 14% in Maharashtra, 20% in Andhra Pradesh, 35% in Tamil Nadu. They say to be effective, you should be targeting 65 or 70. You're even below half of that figure.
Yes. Although I don't know the exactness of their figures, but it's a fact that targeted interventions need to be saturated, and that is what.
Why has it not happened earlier?
No, because we are improving as we are learning.
But you're doing it too slowly. You're learning from mistakes too slowly.
Well, maybe even now, at least if we have learned now and we have decided to scale up, because you will see political leadership.
But let's just pause a moment. You accept that there have been delays?
Delays in what?
In learning?
No. As actually, if you look at our performance, in the context of the global scenario, it is pretty good. It is appreciable. By going on and on again that we haven't done enough, actually it will discourage.
I'm not discouraging you. I'm trying to point out that even if it's difficult for you to target sections of the population in a country as broad and diverse as India, you could have targeted specific districts. Yes. What about the districts I named where the rate of infection has crossed 2 and 3%? Namakkal, East Godavari, Sangli, Bijapur,
yes.
Belari, Koppal.
Yes,
what are you doing in all of those?
No. We actually are 80% of our program is concentrated in these 6 high prevalence states where these districts are located. In fact, some people say that you are not...
But the prevalence continues to grow.
No, the prevalence continues to grow. That's a matter of concern. And in fact, from 49 districts, you mentioned 49, I'm going to mention 111, according to the latest
You know,
figure.
you say you're concentrating on these. 70% of Bombay's commercial sex workers are said to be HIV positive. Less than 25% use condoms. So what impact are you having?
No, actually, I don't know where you got this figure.
The Controller and Auditor General.
But that was long ago. I was in Maharashtra 2 days ago.
And S. Shankaran in the Intervention for Women in the Red Light Area paper.
No, we have the figures. I was in Maharashtra only yesterday, day before. And the rate of infection in those sites where sex workers are located, it was about 54%, which of course is very, very high. Now, the problem with intervention with sex workers is that all of them are not really visible. They go underground, they're spread out.
Of course the job is difficult. My point is not that it's easy. My point is, are you doing it effectively?
Yes, no, we are doing it effectively. But in fact, targeted interventions, wherever they have taken place, they have shown results. Now we want to saturate. We want to reach all of them, 100%.
If you say you're doing it effectively,
yes,
then why is the Planning Commission, under instructions from the Prime Minister's office, carrying out an inquiry into the functioning of your organization and specifically into the figures that you're putting out?
No. The Planning Commission is not doing any inquiry. The Planning Commission is one with us because we are...
Forgive me, the Planning Commission has held 2 rounds of consultations where outside NGOs were invited to advise it. A paper is being written on the subject, and specifically, your figures are being looked into. The Planning Commission is seriously concerned about what it thinks could be the inaccuracy of those figures.
No, Planning Commission hasn't told us anything whether they are going and doing...
Is it a secret from you?
They haven't told us anything, but in any case, they keep interacting with civil society, with everybody. Probably in due course, they will also talk to us.
Are you worried that when the Planning Commission comes out with the report, it could be a thumbs down for your organization?
Absolute no question about that. We are very confident about our figures, but at the same time, as I said, this is one argument I would rather not like to win. Because I would, otherwise the impression will be created that there is no problem. There is problem and we must fight it.
Okay, you're absolutely right when you say there is a problem, we must fight it.
Yes.
Not so long ago, you famously said that the world battle against HIV and AIDS would be either won or lost in India. Are you confident you're winning it?
Losing is no option. We have to win it, and we have certain strategies in the pipeline, which I would like to share with you if you will give me some time.
No, I just want you to answer one question because it's so important. I'm repeating it again. You are confident you are winning the fight.
We have to win this fight and we will win the fight.
There's no question of losing it.
No question about
You're
that.
absolutely determined.
100%.
Shahabuddin Qureshi, a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much.